Hi, I'm Mark Cleghorn and welcome to the Photographer Academy, and today I'm joined by Craig Morgan from Towergate Camerasure, and we're kind of catching up really. It's a few years ago since we did some original films on insurance. I'm not sure if you were born then.
I was just
about
yeah,
with it,
just
kind
about,
of with it.
yeah.
We're going to kind of introduce you now and kind of what you do and things really, but in this film I really want to get to the heart of the kind of the whole basics of insurance, what we need to kind of cover and everything else with it. So have you been with the company for long?
Just over 2 years I've been with Camerasure, yeah.
And you train to be an insurance person as such, or what? How does it all work, you know?
Yeah, you just walk in and you start
you get a job.
No, you have to do certain levels of training, because obviously it's an FSA, it's a regulated role, industry. So you have to do training to be able to work within it, really, sort of training to how to handle clients' money, this sort of thing. So there is a lot of training you have to do first before you can actually start speaking to the clients, reassuringly, I think. So, yeah.
And we meet quite a lot on some of the kind of the UK tours, isn't it? And the little trade, the trade show events and everything else with it, kind of thing. So we've kind of come across each other a lot.
Yes.
So what's your role? Is it kind of new business or looking after existing clients, or what is it?
A little bit of both, but the majority of it is sort of new business, speaking to clients obviously that are coming into the industry or have been in the industry for a good few years, and sort of tailoring a package or a policy to their needs, really. And then throughout the first year, I suppose, administering that to whatever changes they need, so they've got a point of contact that they recognise and know.
As far as the kind of let's say I'm just beginning off, and I probably need to get some insurance in some way. Am I really looking at indemnity when I'm just kind of doing some snaps for fun and things, really, or am I just looking to get my camera kit insured? What's the
you certainly need to, well, you should have your camera kit insured in some shape or form. If you're earning money from photography as well, you're probably looking at needing a liability cover in place, so just in case you injure or drop a camera on a child, or they trip over your tripod or something like that, so you're covered for any injury or damage you cause. Indemnity is sort of a separate beast in that it really depends on the type of work you're doing as to whether it's required. If you're just doing fun shoots, like you say, or portrait work, it's probably not something you need to worry about. Okay. Obviously, if something goes wrong in a portrait shoot, you can always get them back in the studio to take it again. If you're doing more of the one-off shoots, like weddings or some of the commercial work, it's probably something you want to look into at that point. Okay,
so what types of insurance there? Obviously, there's equipment insurance.
Yeah, there's equipment which can cover everything from computers to sofas to cameras to lighting, everything like that. You've got liability cover, which covers you for any injury or damage you or something you produce may cause. Okay. You've got indemnity cover, or mess-up cover, to use a polite phrase of what some people call it, which covers you for any sort of failure to fill a contract or any errors or omissions in your work. And then there are other more specific covers like business interruption, where you can sort of insure against, say, a flood in your studio and you can't work for a few weeks. You can insure against the costs of that. So you can really cover every aspect of your business.
Where does somebody start, though? Obviously, they get in touch.
Yeah.
And kind of you talk them through what kind of stuff that they do and so on, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. It's really, to be honest, it's a relatively informal chat, because to be able to insure someone's business, you need to know what they're doing and sort of the areas that they're working in. So it's really just to run through that and then run through with the client, I suppose, and tailor what they actually need. So it's just a chat, really, and then we base what we recommend or advise on what they're based on what they're doing.
And it's not a huge cost involved as well, is it? You know, obviously, the more money you turn over as such, really, obviously it's going to be a lot more expensive. The more kit you have, it's going to be a lot more expensive.
Exactly. It's all dependent on the type of equipment you have and the type of work that you're doing. I mean, policies can start from anything from £90 to an amateur, all the way up to sort of thousands of pounds that some of the clients pay who have sort of hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of equipment.
Sure. Okay, so let's kind of just stay on the kit for a minute, Craig. Why take out? I'm just beginning off, okay, just a bit of fun. I'm investing more and more money into my photography, but no real kind of studio lighting yet or whatever, but it's cameras and lenses. Why not just use the insurance on the house cover? Why take on a separate insurance? Household
insurance can sometimes be quite limited in the way that it covers. I mean, normally you're going to have a single article limit on it of sometimes £1,000 or £1,500. That they'll only cover any item up to that. And obviously, if you've got these sort of if you are investing heavily in photography equipment, you know, some of the 5Ds, that sort of thing, obviously the single article limit's going to exceed what the household insurance can cover. They also tend to be limited on what you can take out and about and how long you can take it out, what it then covers you for. So things like they may cover you for a small amount of contents outside the home, but normally that's restricted to things like wallets, that sort of thing. And they certainly won't cover it in a vehicle, while, especially if you leave it unattended, which is what our policy does. So even if you're an amateur, really a sort of a specified product works a lot better than your household insurance for cover.
Because you know, you often hear a thing, and there's been a big fuss in UK about phone insurance.
Yes.
Isn't there? It's the big, huge kind of, let's insure your phone, blah, blah, with it. I mean, the phone companies themselves, you know, the resellers have been kind of, I won't say ripping off, that would be the wrong terminology, of course. That would be a bit hard, but they've been basically hard selling insurance for a long time with it. And obviously some people have gone, well, it's covered on my home insurance. But of course, if something is covered on your home insurance, whether it's a camera or a phone, and you make a claim on that, that is going to affect your home insurance policy no matter what, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It's best to keep them, to be honest, it's best to keep them separate because with the type of equipment that you have when you are a photographer or when you're getting involved in that sort of thing, obviously if that gets stolen or lost or broken, the payment out on that sort of equipment because of the value is obviously a lot higher than, say, if you lost your wallet or your handbag while you're out and about. So yeah, it will affect your household premiums for the foreseeable future. So if you have a specified product and you keep them separate, obviously instead of having the claim just sat on there, you have it on one policy and it allows your household policy to run sort of smoothly from there.
Okay, so as far as the basic equipment insurance, whether I want to insure one camera and a lens or going up to, you know, bags and bags of equipment, you just actually tell you the value of the kit, or do you have to kind of break it all down? How does it all work?
It really depends. We've got two options available. If you're organised and you hold on to all your receipts and invoices, that's brilliant because in the event of a claim, we just ask to see proof or a copy of a receipt or invoice as proof of ownership. So we wouldn't need to see an itemised list. So for the organised people, that's one option. The other one is if you don't hold on to those sort of things, like myself, if you don't hold on to receipts or invoices, you can provide us with a list of equipment that you want to cover and we keep that on your file going forward. Obviously, that's to stop people claiming for sort of a red Epic camera that they've never actually owned for sort of £40,000.
Serial numbers and everything else, though, actually.
Exactly.
All kind of backing
Make
up
and model, serial number, rough replacement value. Obviously, it's new for old cover. We won't replace it with a second-hand model, so we need to know the rough replacement value on that as well. Okay,
well, it's good to know that. Is that guaranteed in the policy, so it's a new for old no matter what?
Yeah, it's a new for old cover. That's what we provide. You know, it's apart from anything else, it's a lot harder to source a second-hand camera for us in the event of a claim.
And guarantee it's going to work as well, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you go down that sort of route, it can be hard because there are some insurance policies which will take out where it's they only provide, say, new for old cover in the first year. And after that, they'll actually only provide second-hand value, or they'll only pay out on what the value is of the equipment at that point, which isn't ideal because obviously then it's down to who values the equipment, who decides that it's worth a lot less than it would have been from new. Yeah. So we think it's a lot better cover and it's a lot easier if it is just new for old cover from the very beginning.
Brilliant. So that covers the equipment kind of side of things. Liability. I think we just need to open that kind of secret world up a little bit because, you know, what is it? Because as I said, you know, I always refer to it as indemnity. I don't know why, but I always think of it as one and the same, but it's not. Yeah, it's not the same thing, is it? So what is the liability insurance? Does that cover the client for me screwing up a job?
No, it's the liability cover covers you. Say, for example, you go to do a wedding shoot in a big grand house. There's lots of expensive artifacts around, and you're framing a shot, taking some pictures of guests, and you step back and you knock an expensive vase off.
Touching wood here.
Exactly. Yeah. And that smashes, and that could be, you know, it could be a £20,000-30,000 vase, which suddenly you're liable for. The public liability cover, public and products liability, picks up the cost of that. So it covers you for any damage you may cause. Just as likely, if you're stepping back again to frame a shot of a couple or something like that, we had a claim a few years ago of someone who stepped back, knocked an old lady over, and she caused her injury. She was in hospital for a few months, and that was a sort of a £30,000 odd claim. So that's the sort of thing that can happen. So the liability picks up those costs. Because once you start earning money from photography and you're out actually working, you're liable for any injury or damage that you cause. Okay. So
is that expensive, the liability insurance?
It's not. Obviously, it's more expensive if you take it out as a standalone product, but under our semi-professional and professional policies, which you can include it in, we roll it up in a package so it brings the cost down. The figures that you're looking at, you're normally looking at anything from £2 million to £5 million as a standard. So the numbers are scary, but you know, it's very rare that you get a claim anywhere near that anyway, but it's just there just so you've got the peace of mind really and the security that you can go out shooting and not have to worry about what happens if anything does go wrong.
Okay, so that comes under your kind of banner, because you do kind of a real range here, isn't it? It's for photographers, videographers, studios, labs, multimedia, professional head-in, sharp shoot, semi-professional, amateur, professional indemnity. I mean, you've really kind of identified all the different kind of sections going through that, haven't you, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been in the industry sort of 25 years as photography insurers, leading insurers in the industry. So we know the market we're working with. We're specialist insurers. We've got a specialist underwriter in Aviva who have got, we've put together with them a specialist product to sort of tailor to all your needs. So everything you mentioned there, all the different areas that we can cover, we have a specialist product which we can put in place for you. Yeah.
And is that just in UK, or is that anywhere in the world? Or?
It's in the UK and Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Okay, but not into France, Italy.
Not into France. No, each it's with insurance. It's a bit complicated in terms of each country have their own regulations in terms
we won't
of
go to
financial
America
regulations.
to discuss their insurance. That's a whole different realm.
Exactly. We actually, believe it or not, we get quite a lot of inquiries from people who send across an email saying, I'm based in Saudi Arabia, can you insure my equipment? Or I'm based in Shanghai, can you insure my photography business? And unfortunately, because there's different regulations in each country, we can't risk it, to be honest, because we don't know enough about the foreign regulations and insurance regulations, that sort of thing, to really touch it at the moment. But you never know in the future.
Yeah,
so.
Sorry to digress there, but it's interesting, isn't it? You know, because obviously we've got members from around the world, and I don't want you to get 1,000 inquiries from Japan.
No, well,
well, if you did, I suppose you'd actually start to look at having a bureau out there.
If we had the inquiries, but no, like I said, we have had them from abroad before, and it is something I think Towergate as a big company have looked into. So who knows? Cool.
Okay, so we've done equipment, done liability, indemnity.
Yeah.
Explain indemnity to me, because I know I've got a lot of cover.
Yes. It's effectively, for the type of work you're doing, it's muck-up cover. So if you're on a shoot, especially for weddings, say, if you're on a shoot and something goes wrong, or you drop your camera, or you lose the memory card from the wedding, that gets damaged or lost, so you've lost all the images. The indemnity cover then covers you for any refunds that you make to the client. It covers you also at the discretion of sort of insurers for any compensation payments out to the client, because obviously a wedding's a one-off occasion that can't really be replicated. You can't replicate the emotion of the day or anything like that. So it covers you for payouts to the client from that perspective, and similarly from sort of commercial shoots, that sort of thing as well. So anything that you may have missed on the shoot, or if you lose all the images, it covers you so that you're not out of pocket at the end of the day, because you as the photographer, you've already done the work. It's not, to a certain extent, it's not your fault if your equipment gets stolen, it's got the memory cards in or anything like that. So we effectively step in, we negotiate with the client on your behalf, so you don't have to worry about it. You can get on doing what you do best, which is taking pictures, and we basically negotiate a payout to the client from that point of view. So that's what the indemnity covers there. It is different to liability, but a lot of people get them confused.
Yeah, because, I mean, if it does happen, things go wrong, it can be a real stressful time, and obviously the client, we are living in the world of excess claims, whether we accept it or not, and they're going to kind of really try and take you for as much as they can take you for, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's
horrible.
Sounds cold, but yeah, it is true. I mean, a lot of the places, what we find is weddings are expensive nowadays, especially. So.
You're getting married in a week.
Exactly, yeah. Trust me, they are expensive. And what people tend to do afterwards, or I say people, some people tend to do afterwards, is they'll look at how much they've spent, realise they've gone way over budget, and the first couple of areas they look at is catering and photographer as to areas that they may be able to negotiate down, because those are two of the more expensive areas. So they look at those, and we can cut costs there. We'll say we're unhappy with the images and see if we can get a refund. So it is something that does happen. So the cover in place is good. I mean, not only from the perspective of making a payout, but we also actually, if we feel that there may be a fraudulent claim in say they come back and say that the images aren't of a good quality, we'll actually get them looked at by a third party as well, someone sort of respected in the industry like yourself, to double check the images, see what they think, and then obviously if everyone seems to be happy with them, go back to the client, and as you say, we negotiate on your behalf anyway, and sort of say, well, actually, the images are very good. You know, we're going to need to look into this.
Once upon a time, through the BIPP, I used to do a lot of reports.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many complaints go through, not just our industry, but all industries and things, really.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you can be as professional as you can and do the best job you can, but if you get a client who's you're never going to please them, and that's obviously where you can do as much as you physically can do to please them, but then that's when you've got to kind of step aside, isn't it, as a business?
Yeah, I mean,
and go, okay, you've got to deal with my insurance company now.
That's the thing. We've got an in-house specialist claims team that deal with claims, so you don't have to go direct to the insurers. You can always come to us, and we can deal with the majority of claims in-house. So they're sort of trained. They know what they're doing when they're dealing with people in that sort of environment. So the best thing we always say is, if you think, the first course of action is, if you think there's a possibility of a claim like that, you contact us and we'll start negotiating on your behalf, rather than you sort of get into it. And, you know, in some cases it can make it worse. So, you know, give us a call, let us know what's going on, and we can sort that out for you, certainly.
Years and years ago, in the days of film, and I'm sure there's still some film out there being processed in some way. But before we had our own lab, we used to use 220 film, which was basically 120. It's kind of wide like that. But it was on a loop, because it was 24 on a roll instead of 12 as it was. 12 would just hang on a one straight. But one of the common things was that the clip used to come unclipped, would hence the film could drop off.
Oh, okay.
Which was a horrible thing, and it happened to me on one wedding. I hope it never ever does it for anybody else out there. You know? But again, all that weekend, kind of, you know, I'm fine, everything's good. But then, of course, the lab rings me up on the Wednesday and says, we've got a problem. We've got 3 rolls of your film that have come off in the dev tank, and they're basically completely ruined.
Yeah.
And I was sweating, horrible kind of thoughts and everything else with it. And I just thought, you know what, the couple are on honeymoon for a couple of weeks. I can't do anything for them. I'm just going to ring my insurance company straight away and go, what do I do? Is that what we should do, is ring you straight away?
Yeah,
or?
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, at the end of the day, you pay for peace of mind. Yeah. So give us a call, let us deal with it, take your mind. Basically, we're there. That's what we're there to deal with, you know. Some people ring up and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to do this, but I think I may need to make a claim. It's not something you need to be sorry about. That's what you pay us the premiums for. So yeah, give us a call and let us deal with it, so you don't have to worry about it. It could be a weight off your mind then, and then you can just get on with doing what you do best.
Take photographs.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and once you're doing it for a living, you know, you've just got to be as professional as you can, and that includes making sure that you're covered, the client's covered, and your equipment's covered as well with it, isn't it? You know, and with all the care in the world, mistakes happen, things happen.
Yeah.
If somebody's going to steal a bag on a wedding day, you could literally put it down for 1 minute, you walk to a group, you arrange them, you come back again, it could be gone. And with all the best will in the world, I've taken due care and diligence. You never expect that to happen as such.
That's the thing. I mean, as long as you're taking due care and diligence and attention to it, that's all we can really ask. I mean, the sort of scenario you described there, it's actually referred to as open theft, or sort of opportunistic theft, which isn't something that's covered on the majority of policies actually that you'll find. So it's regarding to things related to things exactly like you say there. So you put your cameras down, you turn around to take a picture, and when you turn back, it's gone. But no one's seen it taken. They haven't had to knock you over the head to take your equipment or break into anywhere. So that's something that we cover under our policy as standard, but a lot of policies won't cover it. They make theft subject to something called visible signs, which means that you'd have to be hit on the head if something was stolen, or if someone broke into your property and took your equipment, they'd have to see that they'd smashed a window or something like that, not that they picked a lock and got in without having to actually, I suppose, smash anything in, really. So that's something else to look out for in policies, to make sure you have that cover.
Brilliant.
So it can be something as simple as loading your car at the end of the shoot, can't it? You've got a load of stuff that you put in, and as you go, and then suddenly the bag's gone when you turn back. So.
I've got a funny tale in a minute. It's nothing to do with this, but a friend of mine many years ago was doing a wedding by himself. He never had assistants, whatever. He was doing a wedding by himself, and he did all the groups in the churchyard. Yeah. And basically, they went on to another location, went on to reception and so on. And but his main camera bag, not his film bag, because he used to carry that kind of on his hip, so he never ran out of film. But it would be lenses, spare flashes, spare bodies, and all that. He left it in the churchyard. Okay, he left it there, And there was another 2 weddings on, following his, okay?
Wow.
Realised when he'd finished the cake shot that he didn't have his bag. At that point, he hadn't even thought about it. I don't know how, because you'd think he'd take out another lens or something. Whatever. Anyway, he went back, it was exactly the same place.
Right where he left it.
6 hours on, where he left it. And I just couldn't...
That's amazing, no one handed it in or something.
Well, yeah,
they just stepped around it.
Yeah, I know I've heard tales in the past of kind of the vicars have found the stray lens, on the altar or whatever it would be. But again, that's kind of the good side of nature as well. We mustn't always kind of paint the black picture kind of thing with it, but really good. Any advice? Okay, so let's kind of just bring this to a wrap up for a minute.
Yep.
Any advice when you're going to take out your first policy then? What do I need to prepare before I get in touch with you?
It's good to have a good idea of how much equipment you've got. We can
value-wise?
Value-wise,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, some people will ring and sort of run through the list of the equipment that they've got, which is brilliant. They know what they've got. They've got a list of equipment, but we can't really do anything with that unless we've got the sums insured.
Okay.
So we need to know the values of the equipment. So either an overall sum insured or a breakdown of each item, so that we can then tailor it, the policy, to that amount. Because we don't really have once you get to the professional level, we don't have set boundaries on the policy. So the main thing we really need to know from yourself that you wouldn't know automatically is the sum insured that you're looking at. So the values of all of the equipment and the top limit of what you think it's worth.
And that's a bit of research that I do before I get in touch, is it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you've got a rough idea, we can work from that.
So saying that, I bought a lens, let's say 8 years ago, because glass is the expensive part. It's not really the bodies, is it? It's the lenses. And let's say I bought a lens 8 years ago. And that cost me 1,200 quid then, but it's £1,900 to replace today. Do I talk about the price I paid for it, or do I talk about the price that it's replaced at?
To be honest, that's something we discuss with you when we run through it. But it's up to yourself at that point. I think we can insure it for £1,200 if that's what you want to insure it. Because obviously, the more expensive you insure a piece of equipment, the rating's slightly higher on the insurance. So if you wanted to insure it for £1,200, we could do it at that. But obviously, in the event of a claim, that's how much we'd pay out. Right? However, if you wanted to do it on a replacement value, so it was £1,900 to replace, or the model that you've got is now obsolete, so you've got the next equivalent model. As long as you make us aware of that, and we've got that listing there on the form, we know you want it valued at £1,900. We can have it on the policy at that, and that's what we'd pay out in the event of a claim, or we'd just replace it with that equivalent model. So it's quite flexible in terms of that, from that point of view, certainly, because it can be a bit confusing sometimes when there's items that you bought years ago, which obviously the values are slightly different now.
It's the obsolete digital bodies as well nowadays, isn't it, really?
Exactly.
Because they're changing so fast.
Well, yeah, we get a lot of people who've got the very old sort of Leica kits and Hasselblads that sort of work from, like you say, they don't work from the digital prints anymore. So it's hard sometimes for them when you're asking about values. They're saying, well, it cost a hell of a lot back then, but there's no such model now that you can really buy from new. So we look at it on a case-by-case and sort of item-by-item basis, really.
Okay, so get an idea of your list of equipment that you've got and the list of equipment that you need insured. I suppose that includes all the things like meters, lens hoods, filters.
Everything,
isn't it? Because,
if everything goes,
can be 100 quid.
Yeah.
You have 10 of those, all of a sudden you've got £1,000 worth of filters as such, really, and you've got to make sure they're
memory cards, things like that, hard drives, anything really that you've paid for the business. That if everything went, if you had a house fire, or if you had your studio flooded and everything got destroyed or everything got stolen, you don't want to be only paid out for the big items and then realise you had £3,000 worth of sort of miscellaneous items that you can't claim for because you never included it in your insurance.
Brilliant. So
make sure you include enough to cover that the sort of consumable items, if you will, the smaller stuff.
Anything else I need to get prepared if you're ready before I ring up?
No, I mean the other details, to be perfectly honest, it's relatively easy. Hopefully you'll know your address. You'll know the sort of door locks, that sort of thing. You'll know what you have to do to get into the property. You'll know your security. You'll know your insurance history. The rest we do from our side. Then we check areas just to make sure. If you're living in London, obviously you've got a much higher risk of theft, so we've got to take that into account. But as long as you know the equipment sum insured and you know the type of work you're looking into doing, we can do the rest from there, really, and run through it all on the phone with you.
Brilliant. Any other tips?
Just look after it. Obviously, you mentioned due care and attention before. obviously there's no replacing that. That's the main thing straight away, but we're there to take everything after that point, I suppose, really. You can't, like you say, you can't help it if someone steals it. So as long as you're looking after it, we're happy to cover it.
And the same, I suppose, goes with liability and indemnity as well, isn't it? You know, liability, just take care around your facilities. You know, don't be a bull in a china shop, really. And as far as the kind of indemnities, I suppose it's just make sure you do the very best job that you can do, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm sure everyone would do. But yeah, you are right. If you drop a camera on a small child's head, we'll probably cover you for the liability payout on that. If you're swinging the camera around your head and it flies off and cracks them, we probably won't.
Probably not going to get it, kind of thing. Craig, we'll leave it on that note.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, good face.
Flying your camera around your head and hope it doesn't come off the strap. Remember that if you're a Photo Training Few member and the Photographer Academy member, then basically you get a great discount using Towergate Camerasure. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.